Hi YouTube, it's Melissa. Going to do my labour and delivery eventually. I think everything started, which my due date was on the 23rd of the 5th, 2012, which was a Wednesday. I started having a few tightenings and everything around Friday. I went to bed Friday night and woke up on the toilet. Don't ask why, I don't have a clue why. And I had really bad backache. I was having contractions, but they weren't bad. But I had backache, and it would come in with one contraction, and it would leave with about 5 after, and it was agony. It was all the way up my back, all the way to the left. Is that my left? Yeah, my left. And it'd be in my ribs, and it was killing. So I suffered with that until Saturday night, I think, and then I rang and I went into the labour ward. What they did is they just gave me a quick check over. I weren't dilated at all, but they had a feel around my belly and everything. They says the back pain was just because of the baby's head was so far down. It was pressing on something. He weren't back to back or anything. He was laid on his side and his back was to this side. So what she gave me, because of the backache, weren't actually helping anything. It was just causing me discomfort. I don't even think I was in labour at this point. I was just having mild contractions, which were probably counted as Braxton Hicks. They weren't hurting at all, nothing compared to the back pain, but the back pain, I couldn't sleep through it or anything. So they give me a quick sweep and then some strong paracetamol. They give me 2 of those. I went home. This were around 2 o'clock in the morning. I took these 2 painkillers and I managed to sleep for 15 minutes, which were great. And then I woke up again with the back pain, so I went downstairs to try and sleep on the sofa. Back pain, it were really bad. So it's about Sunday morning now. We were going to his parents for a Sunday dinner. And because of the back pain and everything was that bad, I'd had about 10 baths by this point anyway, and I was bouncing on my ball just to try and see if it'd get things moving that little bit more. I were on the way upstairs about 7 o'clock in the morning to get in bath, and I found the weird thing is, I found the easiest thing to do when having a contraction was sit on the toilet. I know it might be a bit no, I weren't doing nothing, it was just comfier to sit there, so I was just like. So I was on my way upstairs to run another bath, and just stepped over all my clean clothes. Obviously my waters broke, and instantly after my waters broke I felt such a relief from the back pain. The back pain just disappeared, and then my contractions were still coming. They were about 4 minutes apart, but I could easily deal with them. It were nothing compared to the back pain. So I got in bath anyway. I rang the labour ward. They said 4 hours after my waters break, and I have to go in just to get checked to make sure there's no sign of infection, and just to check that my waters had definitely broke. So I went in. They said I was 2 centimetres dilated and my waters had definitely broke. So what they did is, this was all on Sunday, they scheduled me for induction on the Tuesday, and I'd have had to go back in on the Monday just to have a drip put in with antibiotics to run everything through to make sure that I didn't have anything to harm the baby. So I went home. Contractions were starting to get a little bit worse. I was a bit disappointed they sent me home, because the fact that they'd asked me to go in, I thought I'd have been staying. So I went home, contractions got that little bit worse, so I ended up going back, checked again, still 2 centimetres. So I stayed there for a couple of hours and bounced on a birthing ball. Just bounced through my contractions. They're huge, them birthing balls. It checked me again, 2 centimetres, didn't really do anything. So I went home, and we live about 45 minutes away from hospital, which it's not that bad. But the thing that worried me is because after your waters are broke, I know things can progress really quickly. So I was just worried about that car ride, because obviously if I'm at home I can walk through a contraction, or I can bounce on bed, or just something random. But in car, you've got your seatbelt on and you're driving, you've just got to sit there, and it's like, thinking about it, it was just that I was really worried about. I mean, my contractions, I could have easily sat through them, but I just didn't want to as things were progressing, because I don't know how hard they're going to hurt. So when I got home, I had monk on myself. I was sat on the sofa, and my fiance made me hot chocolate. I was sat with cushions padded around me. I'll show you one thing that I've got, and I love it. Oh, where is it? No. Well, I can't show you, but what I had was like a back roller. Trying to think of a. Do you know like those little massage things you get in the bottom of like a foot spa? Like one of them, but a big one on a wheel. So I just rolled that over my back for during all my contractions. It might not have eased the pain, but it was a distraction, and it worked for me. I ended up, well, I sent the fiance to bed because I thought, oh, things are progressing, at least you should get some rest. By this point I hadn't slept since that 2 o'clock Friday morning, and this is now Sunday night. I was walking through my contractions just to see if it could speed things along a little bit more. They were getting a lot more painful now. So I just texted my mum saying, Mum, come and get me. I didn't want to wake my fiance up because I felt really bad. I felt like I know obviously I was in labour, and I just felt like I was bothering him. No, he'd said or anything, it's just so I ended up getting him up, and I went back into the labour ward, and this was about 1 AM, and we had an amazing midwife. She says, right, I can see you've been in a few times, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you some diamorphine just to get you some rest, and then I'm going to check and see if we can get you booked in for induction in the morning, which she did. She went and got me booked in for induction that morning. She was amazing. So they give me diamorphine at around 2. They moved me down to a ward, and they sent my fiance home. But, well, they give me the diamorphine around 2. By 20 to 3 I was up asking for more pain relief for cocodamol because it didn't last very long at all. They give me 2 more cocodamol, and I was still sat there feeling every contraction with my back roller. So they said to me, they came round, they went, right, do you want to go get a bath? So I went, and I got in this huge bath. It was like a boat. It weren't a birthing bath, it was just this, about that, you can't even see my hand, about that big anyway, and it was so wide it took forever to fill. And I must have been there, I think I went there around 3, and I didn't come back until about 10 to 6, so I was there a long time, but it seemed to fly. And did you know what, they just put me in this little bathroom on my own. So I'm on my own in this bath that had no handles. It's proper deep, it's like I'm in labour, it's like scary, but I managed. I took my back roller as well, and I was using that in water because it didn't have no batteries or anything, so it was good. And then after my bath, it took me ages to get out, just because of obviously every contraction I sat back down just to see if I didn't time them either. They were coming thick and fast, but they weren't that bad. Well, they were, but I went back to the labour ward and they checked me again, and I was 6 to 7 centimetres, so I were a bit shocked by that. So I texted my fiance saying, you need to set off, time to wake up. Anyway, he said to me, he says, what is this baby playing at? Is it either coming or in? I said, I'm 6 to 7 centimetres. He went, are you joking? I says, no. So I'd gone from, in the space of 4 hours, I'd gone 4 centimetres, which is obviously, it makes sense. So they moved me up to the labour ward, and the first thing I said to the midwife was, right, can I have epidural? You can have whatever you want. And this was before I'd even tried the gas and air. She went, oh, we've got pethidine if you want to try that. I says, what about gas and air? She went, yeah, try gas and air. So I tried it when I weren't having a contraction. Wow, that stuff is magic. So I used the gas and air, and I managed to deliver with just gas and air, and I was so impressed with myself. But it is proper magic, that stuff. I got from 6, it took me 4 hours to get from 6 centimetres to 7 centimetres or whatever, and then from that I just went, right, I need to push. She checked me, she went, nope, you're 7 centimetres. I went, no, I need to push. She went, you're 7 centimetres, don't push. So I went, I need to push now, and I screamed. And then I went, right, I'm going to need epidural then if I'm only 7 centimetres. She went, but they're in surgery now, so they can't. I went, no, I need epidural now, Papa screamed. And I was pushing, and she went, no, you need to stop pushing. She went, right, I'll just check you again. She checked me again, and I was 10 centimetres. I'd managed to force them last 3 centimetres. I don't recommend it to anybody because apparently it could have gone really badly, but obviously for me it didn't. So within 20 minutes of being 7 centimetres, I had a baby in my arms. So when it came to pushing, the midwife actually said to me as well, she says, when it comes to pushing, don't think that this baby's going to be out in 15 minutes. When it can take an hour to 2 hours, it does usually take about an hour. So I'm like, oh, alright then. So when they told me I needed to push, 15 minutes, it took me 15 minutes then to this little baby in my arms. And the first thing I did when they passed me him is, I just like poked him as if to say, is that my baby? It's so surreal. But I ended up with 2 little tears, but nothing that needed stitching. They said if they'd have stitched it, it'd have been more painful than just leaving it. So after all that, I went and got a bath, and that's about it. But when I think back about it, I know everybody says obviously labour's horrible, it's painful, blah 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 blah. It is painful. It's just, it's so worth it, and I'd do it again tomorrow. I can't believe how well it went. And I know obviously I was in slow labour for a few days, but once it got going, it got going. And oh, I got a little baby. So that's about it. I've probably missed loads out because I've spent days writing notes and everything on this, and I haven't even got them here now. I've just done it off the top of my head. But I got about, in total, about 20 baths. Bounced on my ball, which apparently if you've got an exercise ball, there's no point bouncing on it, because if you're tall, well, I'm not tall, but I'm 5'6", so when I